Scientists discovered terrifying mummies in Egypt. Egyptian mummies are terrifying and conceal sinister secrets. There are more surprising treasures in Egypt besides the Giza pyramids. The finding of mummies is only one of the many stunning things Egypt has to offer. Finding mummies may be commonplace given that it is an Egyptian custom, but those corpses are concealing something that will astound you. What dark secrets are these mummies concealing? How are they transported so far underground? Because archaeologists never left Egypt alone and were always looking for fresh knowledge about Egyptian history, we now have a better understanding of Egypt's past ages. Let's examine recent Egyptian excavations in more detail. Archaeologists were interested in learning more about the past of the mummies who were buried so deeply without the aid of modern technology after discovering a number of horrifying mummies in Egypt recently. Who are these mummies and what do they look like? Archaeologists were prompted to learn more about Egyptian mummies by these queries. Would you like to see some of the most bizarre mummy finds? Sarcophagi were found in Saqqara. They were found with a freshly uncovered well at a sacred site near Saqqara, south of Cairo in Egypt. 13 coffins were discovered earlier this month, but police say 14 more have now been located. The find is now regarded as one of the largest of its type, according to experts. Images that have been made public show coffins constructed of well-preserved wood that have been painted in bright hues. Papyrus and other priceless artifacts were also found at Saqqara. The burial sites of Egyptians and sarcophagus, discovered deep under the soil, are two of the most significant discoveries to be made at the Saqqara necropolis. Sarcophagi that were deeply buried. Famous Egyptologist Zahi Hawass discovered a hidden pit in the Saqqara necropolis in February of 2021 while on an archaeological assignment. The team of archaeologists dug the shaft because the dirt and stones in it suggested that there must be something valuable buried inside of it. I would like to request that you now take 1 second and like and subscribe to our channel for more content just like this. Now continuing with the flow. To protect priceless artifacts and guarantee their safety, the archaeologist often excavates by hand. To locate the shaft's hidden secret, they assembled a crew of 50 employees. 6 tons of heavy stone and muck were removed from the shaft by those 50 miners each day as they toiled. They dug for 18 weeks before making an unexpected discovery 50 feet below the surface. They discovered a limestone tomb that weighed 40 tons. It was the first time a sarcophagus had been found in a shaft. Do you have any idea what a sarcophagus is? Well, let me start by explaining to you what it is. A sarcophagus is a type of stone casket that was previously popular in Egypt, Rome, and Greece. It is typically decorated with carvings or inscriptions. The majority of the time, ancient Egyptians used these coffins filled with riches to bury their kings, queens, and other important individuals. What is particularly shocking about the sarcophagus finding, though, is the topic at hand. It was confusing how deeply it was buried. How was the sarcophagus buried so deeply in the ground? The ancient Egyptians were able to bury 40 tons of heavy coffins in a 6-foot deep pit without the use of modern machinery, which baffled the researchers. To find out why they visited the shaft again and found a space beneath the sarcophagus, which forced them to develop the theory that Egyptians built 2 shafts at a time. They filled one shaft with mud and put a sarcophagus on top of it. The mud was transferred to the other shaft with the weight of the sarcophagus, and this is how the sarcophagus was buried. This is not where things end, though. This is the terrifying story of the mummy. The archaeologists found that someone else had visited the deep shaft before them. Who visited the deep shaft, and how did archaeologists find this out? Here is everything we need to know about the mummy's terrible tale. The archaeologists noticed a hole in the lid when they attempted to uncover the tomb. It made archaeologists consider the possibility that it had been broken into by robbers. They were astonished to see that the sarcophagus was empty, just holding a few bones when they opened it. There was no hidden wealth. The lack of riches led the archaeologists to suspect that it had been stolen, and they speculated that the robbers may have also been responsible for burying the sarcophagus. The individual in the sarcophagus, according to Zahi Hawass, was relatively significant to the Egyptian populace. Do you believe the individuals who buried the sarcophagus were the same thieves? In your opinion, with the treasure gone, were the thieves the one who stole it? The uncertainty remains. The 2 bodies in the casket. The Zahi Hawass team discovered another coffin in a shaft while conducting the same archaeological operation in the Saqqara necropolis, which was frequently thought to contain the remains of a lady. it discovered an oddity. Here we discover the sinister information that the mummy was concealing. The two buddies' coffin's terrible secrets. Since they discovered that two victims were buried in one coffin, the horrifying truths of the two-body coffin have been revealed. They discovered bones that belonged to an 18-year-old kid and a 40-year-old lady after examining the remains. Archaeologists immediately began to wonder if these bodies were connected to one another. They collected DNA from the bones in an effort to unravel this riddle. They found out that the 18-year-old boy was the son of the 40-year-old lady, and they were buried at different times, but they were still confused about why they were buried together. What do you think was the reason for burying two bodies in the same coffin? Why were the two bodies buried in the same coffin? Zahi Hawass was intrigued by this and began to look into the circumstances behind the deaths of these two bodies. They discovered that the mother and the son had both contracted familial Mediterranean fever after many weeks of investigation. One inherits this form of life-threatening fever from their parents. The archaeologists thought that the mother and son were interred together so that they might continue to be close in the afterlife. Things take more twists and turns in Egypt because now we're going to discuss one of the creepiest mummies found there. The ginger mummy was one of the best preserved, naturally mummified bodies that archaeologists in the late 19th century found in shallow graves in the Egyptian desert. He was supposed to be an older man and was given the moniker because of his red hair. When it was placed on display at the British Museum in 1911, it became the first mummy to be publicly shown and has stayed there ever since. The other corpses found with the earliest known mummy, Ginger, date to around 3400 BC at the time of their deaths. Artificial mummification was not yet a popular technique, but the warm sand in which they were buried naturally dried and preserved their remains. The story of the Ginger mummy might give you goosebumps, so let's get to it. Ginger is no different from other frightening mummies in need of creepy tales. Legend has it that the British Museum found this specimen while looking for a mummy in the 19th century and brought it from a dodgy antique dealer. The merchant reportedly had a relative that resembled the mummy in appearance and measurements, but the relative inexplicably departed about the time the mummy was obtained. You take the gloomy tale of Ginger seriously. What do you think about that? Egypt is home to an abundance of mummies. There are other notable findings, such as the finding of Ramses II, mummies with painted faces, among other things. All of these findings have shady histories and mysteries that shed light on ancient Egyptian customs. Egyptian archaeologists have put in a lot of effort, and they are still searching for mummies that may be buried beneath Egyptian soil. However, archaeologists have always formed their own assumptions when exposing the shadowy history of these mummies. These mummies teach us about the kings and queens of ancient times and educate us about the beliefs and religious practices of their people. We hope you liked the video. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more videos just like this.